I'm quite enjoying Ninchi True Crimes video this morning. Daniel is making himself look even more guilty. Ninchi does great analysis. I do enjoy her. And of course, Mike DeBan. It's important that you guys go over and subscribe. Take in some of the content. And this channel that's walking around champion Daniel's BS crap for him in the comments section. I've finally just banned you from the channel, the dude. It's got to be Jordan Geddes or one of his little buddies. But this individual just hates statement analysis. Like as though it's completely bunk. Statement analysis in this circumstance, friends, is the perfect tool when you're gathering information. And the indicators of deception physiologically from the human body are always the same. The dude is claiming that I'm just so biased, and that's something that the behavioral sciences group at the RCMP is not. Well, let's just remind you, friend, that we've gotten this bias for a particular reason, and it's the level of deception at hand by the last person to see Jack Sullivan and Lily Sullivan alive. When it comes to a circumstance like this at this point, and especially with the type of individual that Daniel Martell is, violent, controlling, addicted, there's still people in my comments section coming up, even though he's fully admitted to be an addict. It's all the talk of the town. Wade Parrish says that he makes, cooks, sells it, and he hates Jack and Lily. All the evidence is there, but people still choose to believe Daniel in this circumstance. Not that it really matters, because there's always going to be somebody. But that kind of nonsense doesn't need to be in my particular comment section. So, therefore, douchebag the dude, you're banned. You're blocked. You can't troll in my comments anymore. You're not even a good troll. It's not even funny. You're just white knighting for Daniel, a suspected child unaliver at this time. Need to remind you that in a circumstance like this, the Orin and Orson Wells case, classic and sincere Pettis, the case against Trezell and Jacqueline West, they let them roam free for 14 months before they put the cuffs on them. Based off of the exact same scenario. 2 children go missing off the back patio. They put the blame on the victims as just they must have wandered out the open gate and lied every step of the way. But it was mainly because of the testimony of their very own children about the fate of Orin and Orson West is what brought the primary second-degree murder charges against them. However, all of the lies and the deceit that indicated and pointed in their direction, everything in that case that worked against Jacqueline and Trezell happened to be circumstantial. All of the lies right away, for example, Jacqueline West was talking about running down up and down the street looking for them after they went missing, when in fact Mike the neighbor's surveillance CCTV, his home surveillance system, never saw her leave the house at all. That situation relates very closely to what's going on with these 2 lovely individuals on your screen, Jack and Lily Sullivan in Nova Scotia. So you can model it in a very similar fashion as to how the RCMP go about determining deception and how that plays into the greater picture. Hey, Daniel, your polygraph examination is not a scenario where you're going to pass and fail and you're all of a sudden incident. It's putting you in the hot seat And asking you all those questions was an opportunity for the behavioral sciences group to do what we do here in these videos and analyze your body movements, your statements, your reactions to these questions. Not to sign a paper so you can go walk out the door. They're gathering information against you over a long period of time. Why is it that you're always up misrepresenting what real police work or the real investigation really looks like? Sheer desperation. Your day's coming. Am I biased against Daniel Martell in all of this at this point in time? Absolutely. But I have a reason to be. I have a reason to go on to the next steps in all of this, but I'm restricted by the information that we have. And being biased against a double child killer is not a bad thing. But alas, that was just a response to that fool, the dude in my comments section, who really doesn't believe in statement analysis. Well, that's not our problem. That's yours. He thinks statement analysis is like psychic readings or tarot cards or fantasy, illusion. No. So you should have stuck it out in English class, ass clown. We don't need any magic to know that this moron is full of shit. Believe it or not, says Daniel. Believe it or not, everybody. Lily had a black eye from Wednesday, 2 days before the disappearance, Mr. Memory. A Tonka truck swung up and hit her in the face at Patty's house. Daniel, why isn't all of this in the paperwork and the statements that you gave police? Nowhere in the paperwork does it say that you were even out of the car at Patty's. You stayed in the car with the kids, remember? Why doesn't Patty mention this? Let's just check. Patty Pearson said that she last saw them all when they came to visit. She was not sure of that date, but said it was early in the week, 1 or 2 weeks before. When they came over, Daniel stayed in the car and Malaya did laundry. Malaya and Daniel left so Meadow could to take Meadow to the appointment. Daniel, where is the appointment that you took Meadow to? I thought it was a license plate that you got for Malaya's new car. And it said Malaya might have gotten groceries, but she couldn't remember if she took the children or not. Now, why wouldn't you, Daniel, have recounted that in the paperwork, I wonder? Oh, I still don't see any mention of it. I'm scrolling up through Daniel's statements, his revised statements. Nothing. Nothing about Patty's. Nothing but vague, confusing, experiential memory. We're figuring regarding Thursday. Daniel said the kids did not go to school. No mention. But initially, when you gave the statements, when you made the statements, let's have a look here, because it is a bit concerning. There's Malaya. So Daniel provides 2 statements to police on May 2nd, 2025. And May 4th. Daniel said Malaya took the baby, Meadow, and left with her family. She blocked him on social media, and he couldn't get in contact with her. Daniel said he rarely used or checked his phone, but has done so more in the last 3 days since the kids went missing. So he talks about Friday morning. Regarding Thursday, Daniel said the kids did not go to school because Malaya thought it was that Lily was sick. They all left home around lunchtime, no mention of Jack, and got gas at the Circle K in Alma. Then went through the Tim Hortons drive-thru for food. Daniel said he thought the kids were sleeping. They drove to Truro and went to Malaya's grandmother's house to do laundry, he said, and spent most of the day on Thursday there. No, you didn't, dude. They went shopping at Walmart, got food. No mention of this appointment, Patty says. He says on Thursday night they left her grandmother's at around 9:30 p.m. and got home at 10:30 and then put the kids to bed. This is pretty specific. You idiot. And he got home around 10:30 and then put the kids to bed. Daniel said he thought Malaya put them to bed. He didn't know what they were wearing because they were underneath the covers when he checked on them. Daniel said he thought he went to bed fairly early that night. Didn't wake up until it was light the next morning. He remembered getting an email that Malaya had marked the kids absent from school. Daniel later said he had to get redacted on Thursday between 12:40 and 1:40. That was in Truro or for blood work or something. So he thought they must have done that before they went to the grandmother's house. You couldn't even remember what happened really on the day that you reported the kids missing. Within 12 hours of the kids being reported missing, you couldn't remember what you had done 12 hours previous to that, Daniel. You can't remember what happened 12 hours previous to that, and you came forward with a false story. Really, he comes out with this adaptation long after the fact, volunteering this information about Lily actually having a black eye, believe it or not. Yeah, believe it or not. Believe it or not. I tend not to believe it because it comes from Daniel, but there might be truth to it. Who knows? You can't believe a word that comes out of his mouth. The fact that he's volunteering the information to you with an excuse at a point in time far after the fact wouldn't resemble an accurate depiction of events, especially in the circumstance. He's just normalizing why Lily has a black eye in this circumstance. Where do you know he's controlling? It doesn't look very good for you, Daniel. There's all kinds of people talking about how they don't feel that the kids even made it home on that Thursday night. And I'm right there with you. And we have to acknowledge the fact that that's not verified. That's not verified. There's, a reference to it, but it's a presumption. Nothing really was ever said. They don't want to even commit to actually saying there's no clear bedtime, inappropriate clothes, really distancing language when they've talked about it here. I just noticed that Ninchi made a very eloquent point about Daniel losing control in a small macro timeline into really what we're talking about here. Listen for this 4 minutes.
Malaya left because she knew that her children weren't alive. That didn't clear Daniel. If anything, the knowledge that she left, for probably that reason, the knowledge that it was an abusive relationship, made people look more closely at Daniel. So he kept trying to push that you need to be looking at Malaya, and he tried the very subtle manipulation of people. Not outright blaming everything on Malaya, but leading people in that direction. When that didn't work, when people started to say, well, hang on, maybe Malaya left because she knows the children aren't alive. Maybe the reason Malaya isn't talking to Daniel is because she knows he is responsible. So how do you get control again? You bring in your friend Durwood, who comes in with this story about Malaya packing the kids off in a car and somebody hiding them away. Problem was, Durwood doesn't know how to do a simple story, and his story became bigger and more exaggerated to the point where suddenly the children weren't actually with Malaya, even though his original story was that Malaya hid them and she was planning on leaving as well. But now the children are hidden even from Malaya. But they're safe. But they're not with Malaya, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It also makes no sense because Cindy and Wade used to take the kids quite often. Well, I don't know if it's quite often, but they used to take the kids for a visit and collect them from the property. So this whole elaborate story of Malaya sneaking them down the driveway and putting them in a car.
Wade mentions that every time that they did pick up or drop off the kids from a visit, that Daniel was never anywhere around. Too busy in the throes of his addiction. Can you believe there's a statement? They're still out there. He's got this little squad thinking that if somehow Ruggs were involved in this, Daniel would be already arrested. Flawed logic. You're talking about those individuals lacking critical thinking skills or even a basic common sense. That's not how it goes. And it's not a rumor. Daniel has admitted to it. Malaya has admitted to it. Haley has identified it early on, even though she walked back her statements. It's well known about, and it's a sensitivity area. All right? Children's Aid make Daniel go to Narcotics Anonymous because of it in the background, and his kids, and he can only see Meadow under supervised visits in this circumstance. That's, in my opinion, even a stretch. But until we get to know further details about their parts in all of this, we can only form a fairly accurate opinion, but you don't have to form an opinion whatsoever. The fact is, these substances affected and contributed to the environment in which Jack and Lily disappeared from. End of.
And the story just got bigger and bigger. And people suddenly realised that Durwood was nothing but a complete utter twit making up a story. And I know there's still people who believe this theory, but sadly, it is not true. So, what does Daniel do from there? He is now still hinting at that story, trying to convince people that that story is real, but without actually adopting Durwood's story directly. Trying to convince the people who are not so good with logic and critical thinking that, yeah, Malaya is responsible for all this. She's hidden the kids, and he's confident that the children are still alive. But the problem is, again, for Daniel, that so many people see through that BS, they look at all the information that they've been given and know that it's not truthful. So this is when we get to the point of deflection.
Well explained on a macro scale, Ninchi. Durwood is such a douche and such a nerd. It's interesting. You can see it from the comment sections and things, how it spreads. People want to believe that the kids are okay and safe and have been rehomed because they have no information or not enough information to let them think otherwise. So, food for thought for those people. It's a silly story at this point in time. And it's not even plausible. The kids walking out on their own into that freezing day isn't even plausible. That while you were just in the other room, essentially, within minutes of them actively participating on you with you, poking their head in and rustling in the kitchen, did they just magically disappear? That's the narrative that you're pushing, Daniel. What happened Thursday night? When did you get to bed? The answer is you never went to bed. What time did you put the kids to bed again, Malaya? Did Cindy actually see the kids when you talked on that video call? What was the reason Daniel went over to Wade and Cindy's house that day with all of the family? Why didn't you mention the black eye in your initial report to police? If it happened at Patty's on Wednesday, Daniel. Talking about similar cases because people don't know what to think and they like to reference other scenarios that mirror this one so that they can anticipate and potentially see what the future holds in the process that police normally use to investigate these scenarios. There's a good paragraph right here. And you can get this over on my community page, by the way. Just scroll down. This is the background of the particular case. Now that it's all said and done and they're convicted, remember, exact same scenario where the parents are really effectively gaslighting, lying about two of their adopted children that they want us to believe went missing from the backyard just before Christmas. And the story was rehearsed, scripted, if you will. What you would consider scripted and rehearsed. And it's almost, if not, well, just slightly different. You don't need the details. But its purpose mirrors that of Daniel and Malaya's. So we're 5 months into it. May, June, July, August, September, October. 5 months and a few days into this. It's going to be a while. It could be a while. Let me see here. It was 14 months. Arrests and charges, May 1st, 2020, or March 1st, 2022. So, evidence collection and analysis, January, December 2021. A month right after. Was a massive multi-agency probe followed, including over 100 search warrants, hundreds of tips investigated, and rewards offered for information. Key evidence included surveillance footage, videos from the California City home and Bakersfield businesses, like neighbor's camera shutout Mike, and stores, showed Trezell and Jacqueline without the boys in the weeks and months after September 2020. No footage of the boys post-move. See, now what that's pointing out is their lack of evidence in that sense. So a lot of us, I'm just trying to get your mind to relate to where the mindset of and the sentiment of the community who are out in the public and concerned about the kids at this point in time. And it's really, really similar. Witness testimonies. Family members and Department of Human Services officials described West's adoption process and potential financial motives, receiving $35,000 to $42,000 in benefits. That was a talking point early on in the case, even here on social media. Siblings interviews suggested abuse toward the adopted boys. Digital and physical records. So there's also physicality, abuse, the fact that there is no genealogical link between the father and the stepchildren, or Daniel and the stepchildren, the stepfather and the stepchildren, and Trezell and Orin and Orson West in this case. What was the defense? Defense later argued investigators exhibited tunnel vision, ignoring leads and local sex offenders or the boy's biological family, and racially biased the probe. Example, dismissing Trezel's concerns about inadequate response to missing black children. However, prosecutors built a circumstantial case pointing to the West's lies to police, family, and the children. Circumstantial. Now, there's a key witness detail that really tipped things over, and that was one of the children's testimonies. But that's not the overall point. There are differences, but not much, and especially how they came about arresting or accumulating the evidence and then moving. That's how police work in this circumstance. They don't react to somebody's lies or somebody's drug paraphernalia on the table while they're there searching for missing children. So after 18 months, arrests and charges came at Jacqueline Trezel March 1st, 2022. After 14 months of accumulation, BPD arrests Trezel and Jacqueline on murder charges. The Kern County District Attorney's Office filed several felony counts, 2 counts of second-degree murder, 1 for each boy, 1 count of conspiracy to commit the murder, and 4 counts of child cruelty. Prosecutors theorized Orin died from abuse in September 2020, followed by a plan to unalive and dispose of Orson, with an unidentified accomplice, likely Jacqueline. The other children were placed in a protective custody. A gag order was imposed on attorneys, investigators, and records to protect the trial. So there's 14 months that Jacqueline and Trezel were out there living in a trailer, free, working at DoorDash, Dine and Dash. That's actually doing more than Daniel is right now. Just because he's walking around, and I think that my friend Big North Marty up there in Northern Ontario brought that up in chat. He couldn't figure out that if this is true. See, it's funny how your mind's playing tricks on you. You don't need to attribute things. You just understand the process which police are trying to apply in these circumstances and relieve your distress. Because there's a lot of people that are unalivers of children out there just walking free, of course. You only hear about the ones that get caught and booked away. What about the ones that get away with it? So he couldn't believe that the RCMP, if they suspected him, would be allowing a double child unaliver. First of all, nobody's saying that, my friend Big North Marty, because that's making a leap. Yeah, we're suspicious of it, but that's not what we're here trying to plug down your mind. You don't have to, okay? We don't have to at this point. The information that we have and the statements that Daniel has come forward with are enough to guide our suspicion and recognize his dishonesty, his unreliability, and all of the traditional markers that would set off alarm bells in anybody trying to determine whether or not he was telling the truth within the RCMP. It doesn't matter necessarily what any one of us think. It means it matters to the RCMP and the ones that are going to determine the fate of this case. Daniel's lying in this circumstance. There's really only one reason for it, and that's to cover up the culpability. Guilty knowledge. The story's so flimsy. How could you not, it's got to come from a place of desperation. There's not much thought into it. There's not much context that he adds to it to justify or rationale about the final moments of Jack and Lily Sullivan. We've got 3 days of unclear information There's some digital evidence out there, but none of it corroborates their story. They are each other's alibi thus far. But it doesn't mean they're innocent. This is what this is coming down to. It doesn't mean that they're innocent. In fact, it is exactly what it looks like. It is exactly what it looks like. That Daniel, a controlling, addicted individual, escalated a situation, or there could be substances involved and they were sedating the children. They're otherwise criminally responsible, and they're active in conspiring to cover up their guilt in it. And they disposed of the bodies, made them go missing, and reported them, falsely, yes, of going missing. They concocted a story. So if that is indeed the case, and it probably is, absolutely it is, in my mind, I'm not afraid to share that with you. The dude. The police have to go about their investigation in a different way and accumulate their evidence over time. This isn't a weekend melodrama. This isn't an HBO series. This is real life. And unfortunately, it takes a little bit of time. But again, for a situation that happened out in California, people and their mindsets out here were really the same. Actually, it was a lot worse in that case. It was a lot worse in that case than it is in Daniel's, because really the narrative in this particular situation, most of the conversation, if not all of it, revolves around the statements and how Daniel portrays himself and prioritizes his own innocence in all of this over that of the fate of Jack and Lily, which is only one concern about it among many. And it seems, geez, how many Daniel interviews have we had over the last little bit? 3 major ones. And they all prioritized one thing: throwing shade at Malaya, which in this circumstance is a red flag. I can't believe how he always loves to indicate that he's withholding more evidence, and there's so much more to this particular scenario. He's so protective. Now what he's doing is showing how protective he is of what we would otherwise recognize as the truth, because he does know the truth. And that's what's driving him crazy. You know that you're lying. You know that we know you're lying. But yet you still have to go through the motions, and that's what's causing him so much anxiety. This is a common trait in liars. If you've been around salesmen, if you've been around people in the professional world, you see it. It's not uncommon. It doesn't happen all the time because, liars are people lie for all kinds of different reasons, but I'm talking specifically in this circumstance with missing children especially. You don't have to be a smart dude in order to play that game. You just have to be able to be willing to lie. And Daniel has a necessity to lie in this circumstance. I forgot to say happy Thanksgiving to all my Canadian friends out there. Of course, we're celebrating a long weekend this weekend. 4 days, isn't it, Chair? We're going for turkey with my mom's today. Got to get our fill of turkey and stuffing and gravy and things all that. Oh, that's fantastic. The Jays are playing tonight at 8, and I'll be back doing a live. I'm not going anywhere right now. I'm just mentioning it while it's on my mind. Also on my mind, I got to say, yeah, freaking right. Mike DeMann and I are going to do a collab coming up soon enough when it comes to this situation with Daniel. Not Daniel, Jack and Lily, I should say. I should rephrase that. It's tough because he takes up so much airspace with things to talk about. It's all a bit of a distraction and deflection, like Ninchi says. But listen, that's a generality in this case at this point. On your screen right now, Daniel. Oh, so let me finish that statement. I brought up Mike Demand. Yeah, I'm all up for joining over at Mike Demand's panel sometime in the very near future. So keep an eye out for that. I'm going to send him an email in the background and we'll figure something out. Probably, I'll send you that email probably sometime Monday or Monday evening. But I'm thinking you're ahead, so my Monday. Anyway, there's this statement that Daniel made that Mike Demand brought up. I'm not sure where he got these screenshots from, if they're from over at Susan's channel. Not sure where these came from. Nonetheless, Daniel's speaking about how documents are only 1% of the overall case in this circumstance. I think it's interesting that Daniel is recognizing the fact that there's so much more to this, but he's trying to speak from a place of authority, of an investigative authority in the Jack and Lily Sullivan case. This is what he's this is how he's portraying himself. He's acting that way. He's trying to appear a certain way. And the sheer fact that you're doing that, Daniel, makes it look like you're guilty. Okay, little buddy? That's a red flag. Another red flag. Not just one red flag. This is just another red flag. I mean, it's that bad, Daniel. Listen, we need to cut the shit. You need to get in there, come clean, and save yourself. They're doing this the hard way. They're accumulating evidence against you. And every time that they go through the process and the CBC comes over to your place and you talk, you're deflecting. You're dodging and sidestepping the actual point of any of the questions that should revolve around Jack and Lily, and it's always redirected to how innocent you are in all of this, how shitty the RCMP, how crappy of a job the RCMP are doing, what they should be doing, and it's all misdirection, because it's not even a valid point that you're bringing up. You're talking about this canine handler should know more about this situation, the case. The guy just had an opinion about how he didn't believe that your Thursday night timeline included enough information personally for him, you said. And he's speaking for a lot of people. But he is an officer. He works for the RCMP. He's not just a contractor that they brought in. He knows plenty more than you do about the situation that you're in. Or does he? He should, shouldn't he? If you wanted to actually appear innocent in all of this, and it wouldn't even be a topic. So the priority shifts just how much he hurt your feelings. Trying to play the victim in the moment. When in fact, these cops, the officers are building a case against you. You said that you do 10 hours of interrogation. That's a lot of words. Not too many words. We'll be analyzing each and every little bit of it, and I can't wait till these interviews come out. You think that after these interviews, you're walking around claiming that you're this free bird and you're no longer a suspect, when in fact, it could be... It couldn't even be. They interviewed Trezell and Jacqueline too, and they hung out in their trailer for the next 14 months. I suspect the same thing is going to happen here. When those pieces of the puzzle get put together, when all their leads, all of the pieces of the puzzle fill that board up a little bit clearer, a little bit more, they can see a better picture of what's going on in the circumstance. That's when they're going to move. You had all of this time to fill in the blanks of your story that's so filled with holes, Daniel. That's what's saddening to people out here in the real world. I apologize, got sidetracked a couple times there. Got things going on here in the background, getting ready for Thanksgiving. Daniel, happy Thanksgiving to you and Janie out there. Happy Thanksgiving to Malaya, wherever she is. I never shut up sometimes, LOL. Daniel. Oh, look at me. Look at me insinuating I'm sharing just too much information with everybody. By the way, the documents are just 1% of the overall case, everybody. I've done 10 hours of interrogation. That's a lot of words. I never shut up sometimes. So during this what he's calling an interrogation, maybe it is, maybe it's not, but this interview that police conducted with him, it shouldn't be an interrogation at that point in time, because giving the guy the benefit of the doubt, wouldn't you think that it would be just a normal conversation about further inquiring about what exactly isn't or did and didn't happen these particular days? Give them some information to corroborate the fact that you're not full of shit, which should be easy to do, you would think, if you were innocent. Not if you had something to hide, Danny boy. But the whole point to the interview is to observe how you behave throughout, not to believe all the words that you have to say. Wouldn't that be foolish? Wouldn't that be foolish if the cops believed everything that you said? Anyway, I'm blathering on. Friends, happy Thanksgiving to you all, and we'll see you back around dinner time. 7 p.m. We're exciting. It's going to be a fantastic day. Let me know what you think about... Well, wish me happy birthday or happy Thanksgiving in the comments section. Happy birthday. Anyway, I'm distracted. I'll see you guys a little bit later. Peace.